to provide people with everything that they need here. So I know a lot of people are introducing themselves in the chat. We also want to know a little bit about you who are watching, who are participating, and where you're coming from. So we have a couple of polls that we're conducting throughout the night. So if you're on Zoom here with us, you should see them pop up. And I will just kind of read through. And it looks like we're up on Facebook too. So people who are just joining us on Facebook, which is very exciting, you won't be able to see the polls. But I will make sure that I read them all to you so you can set your answers in there and just kind of let us know. So our first poll, I'm just kind of curious, for how long is your school closed? So we have 4 options there because, we just want to know where everybody's at, throughout the country. So is anybody not closed yet? I'm curious to see about that. If you're closed for 1 to 2 weeks, option 3, if you're closed for more than 2 weeks, and option 4, if you are closed indefinitely. All right, it looks like about half the people are voting so far. So we'll give you a couple more seconds to kind of get through there. And again, if you're on Facebook, just type in the comments, like let us know, is your school still open? Are you closed for a week or 2, more than 2 weeks? Are you closed for who knows how long? Like it could be, a long time, I think. So it looks to me like we have only a couple people who are not closed yet. I'm kind of fascinated by that, to be honest. It looks like 31, back down to 28% are just closed for 1 to 2 weeks. Majority, 54%, are closed for more than 2 weeks, and 17% are closed indefinitely. And I don't know, Amanda, my sense is that even if you're closed for like 2 weeks, that it's probably going to end up being longer than that. Like, has that been your experience also?
Oh yeah, I mean, it went from we're closing next Wednesday to we're closing Monday to like we're just closed to we're closed for 2 weeks to we're closed indefinitely in the matter of like 3 days here. So I would assume that's kind of coming down the line for most people.
Yeah, for sure. So, I think for those of us that are closed for a long time, closed indefinitely, like it's not the best situation, but I feel like we count ourselves lucky that we're in a where, they're taking this very seriously. But we need to dive in. So let's talk a little bit about the format of the conference and kind of how we're going to be running things today. So as I told everybody, Amanda and I will be here with you all night. We're going to bring on a long list of guests to share some of their best practices, what they've experienced, what they're learning. We also have a lot of downloads available for you, and we'll make sure that Lindsay Moss, like we said, is in the chat. She will link those for you throughout the night. And speaking of the chat, that's the place where the conversation is going to be taking place tonight in Zoom. You should see it open on the right side of your screen. If you don't, click on the chat button down at the bottom of the screen. You can make it pop up. And if you are on Facebook Live, Abby Shukai should be there. She'll be presenting later. But for right now, she's kind of facilitating the conversation there. We'd love for you to leave comments, answer questions, ask questions there all throughout the night. But wherever you are participating, however you're watching this, we want you to ask questions of the presenters as well. If you have something you want to ask, leave a comment on Facebook, put it in the chat on Zoom, and either Amanda and I we'll look through those. We may ask those questions during the Q&A session that we'll have after each presentation. And then finally, last housekeeping thing, okay, we'll be recording this entire webinar and you can access it after the fact. We'll send out an email with the recording. It'll be on the Art of Education University Facebook page for the next few days, and it should be available on the AOEU website as well. All right, so Amanda, would you like to tell us just a little bit about kind of the main ideas that we're going to cover as we go through here?
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to be covering 4 big main ideas. We're going to start with just some general tips for teaching online, kind of best practices, how you can get set up, what mindset shifts you might have to go through in order to get ready to do this. Then we're going to move into some more of sort of instructional strategies, different platforms that you can use, different ideas you can use to stay connected with your kiddos. After that, we're going to move into some specific lessons and also talk about how AOEU offerings, different things that we offer can help through this time. And then we're going to finish up with a little bit of self-care. So just a quick note, Sarah Krajewski is going to be leading us through a mindful art activity. So if you want to, at some point, grab literally a piece of paper, a piece of cardboard, anything you have lying around in your favorite drawing or even painting materials, depending on how wild you want to get, you can go ahead and do that. And then finally, we are going to hopefully wrap up with an art teacher who has been teaching in Seoul, South Korea for the past few years. And it's actually Friday morning for her right now. So she hopefully will be joining us to do a live Q&A, answer some of your questions, because she's been doing this, you know, for weeks on end, and we're kind of just getting started. So super, super excited about our lineup that we have coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Amanda said, you know, just kind of the main topics, the main things we're going to cover. And I actually want to do another poll to know, you know, just kind of what your main concern is over the coming weeks, you know, as we're sort of facing this new situation, trying to figure out how we're going to be teaching, how we're going to be living in this sort of new reality. I'm asking here in the poll, what is your main concern over the coming weeks? We have 4 options there. So is your main concern, number 1, finding enough lessons? Number 2, finding the technology that you need? Number 3, keeping yourself healthy physically? Or number 4, keeping yourself healthy mentally? Okay, so I know a lot of those could be a struggle for you, but we want to know kind of what your main concern is and what you're looking for, you know, not only through the webinar here, but other connections, and just what you're trying to figure out as you're going through here. So we'll give people a little bit of time to vote here. So again, you know, what is your main concern over the coming weeks? We have finding enough lessons, finding the technology you need, keeping yourself healthy physically, or keeping yourself healthy mentally. Now, it looks like the poll is not popping up for everybody. So if you want to just leave your comments in the chat or in the comment section on Facebook Live, that would be awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and end this because it is not popping up for everybody. But it looks like for a lot of people, the main thing they're looking for is technology. And then second place is finding, keeping yourself healthy mentally, followed by finding enough lessons as well. So, you know, that's helpful for us to kind of be able to see, you know, where everybody is, what they're looking for as we go through here, not only this week, but in the coming weeks as well. So, Amanda, what was your answer for that one? What are you most concerned about over the next few weeks?
I would say definitely mental health. You know, like, I'm a teacher, so I've kind of taken what I do in the classroom and applied it to homeschooling my own kid. Like, I feel okay about setting a schedule, but it's been hard to, for example, like get exercise in or get time for myself. And so I think hopefully as we kind of settle into this new normal, we'll find pockets of time for that. But I'm excited to get some tips about that tonight.
Yeah, I think, you know, a lot of people are in that same boat. Like, you feel confident in what you're doing, but there are just little ways that you're going to need to branch out. There are little ways that you need to take care of yourself, and take care of your family. And so those are the things that we can kind of talk about as we're here. You know, and like I said, that's going to be kind of how we guide ourselves over the next few weeks, as at AOEU here, we're putting together resources and articles and podcasts and presentations. But, you know, I also need to say, I guess we're not the only ones putting together resources. You know, we're part of a much larger community. And honestly, I've been so incredibly impressed with the art teaching community over the past week. So just a big shout out to everybody, a big thank you to everybody who is sharing lessons and choice boards that they've created and recording themselves teaching, and everything that people are doing to support your fellow teachers, because there's just this drive to connect and to share things and to come together and to take care of each other. and it's just amazing. And so I hope with this webinar and with our website, we can continue to kind of play a part of that and continue to help bring people together, not only this week, but in the coming weeks. So Amanda, I guess just before we dive in and bring on our first presenter, what kind of advice do you think we should share with all of the teachers that are here?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing is we're going to share a lot of tips, a lot of tricks, a lot of ideas tonight. And as always, they might not apply to you right now. They may apply to you in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or never. But I would say try to, jot things down. We have handouts for you. Try to just embrace all of the ideas and think about, okay, if I don't have access to this platform or I can't do this, what could I do with this idea for my kiddos? We're all used to sitting in PD that applies to us, not at all. So this is a really cool experience to have so many art teachers sharing ideas. And we hope that you can glean some nuggets of information. In addition, we're all trying to navigate this together. Our teachers are a super supportive community. I've already seen in the chat, everybody just holding each other up and being supportive of one another. So that's super cool to see. Our teachers are used to adversity, but not quite like this. Like we might be used to someone stealing our supplies out of our room or, whatever, but a worldwide pandemic is a little bit different. But I have no doubt that our teachers are going to really work to support each other through this time. And like Tim said, we've already seen a ton of that online with people sharing resources and videos and all of that kind of stuff, which is super awesome to see. So we also just saw in the poll, everyone's kind of in a different situation, whether they've been closed, right now, or they're closed forever, or they're not really sure, they're in limbo. And so I think really the only constant is change in this situation. And so we're going to have to continue to be flexible in how we teach and what we teach. And we might be in this situation until the beginning of next school year. So, we said AOEU's mission is to help every art teacher at every stage in their career. And although this is certainly an unexpected stage, like we just want you to know before we dive in, like we are here for you. We're here for you this week. We're here for you next week. We're going to continue these webinars as long as we need to. And, we're just hoping to make the very best of this situation for everybody. As we keep saying, or maybe I'm just saying this to myself, but like, just keep repeating, like this too shall pass. And until it does, we'll be in it together. So with that, Tim, do you have anything else to add, or can we dive into the learning?
I think we are ready to go.
All right. So our first presenter is Amber Kane. So Amber in the AOEU world used to write for the magazine, and she also has a couple of amazing pro packs if you're interested in checking those out. And she is now AOEU's head of compliance. And in her past life, she has held many jobs. She's been a textile designer and gallery owner and art teacher. And also she has been actually teaching art online to advanced students, AP art, for the past 6 years by choice, not by necessity. So she's here with sort of some general tips and things to talk about. Amber, can you give us just a tiny snippet of what you're gonna share tonight?
Yeah, well, so as Amanda said, I switched from teaching in the classroom to teaching online by choice. So I was able to do this a little bit more thoughtfully and intentionally than some of you are doing right now. So I really tried to think about when I was making that shift, what were the things that I was really struggling with or that were overwhelming me, as well as like, what are ways that I can hopefully really quickly address all of the questions that have been coming into me from art teachers. So my answers for you tonight, and it's not that I will totally disappear, people can keep asking me questions, is really some mindset shifts and just how to think about it overall to help guide your planning, the tools that you need, and hopefully make the transition something that actually feels like a creative adventure than kind of like a terrifying, overwhelming experience.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love how you put that. Just so you guys know, there is a download to go with this. This is probably backwards for you, but it's 7 things to keep in mind when teaching from home. And you can access this on the AOEU website. If you go to the coronavirus page, I think we're going to link it there. We'll get it to you. But you can take it away, Amber, whenever you're ready.
All right. So as Amanda said, that handout is just a quick list for you to print out or put on your desktop or anywhere, just to remind you to keep asking yourself these questions. So we're going to talk about 7 things for you to keep in mind as you're switching from teaching in the classroom to teaching from home. And so the first one that I think is really, really important is just letting go of perfection right now. So it's really normal to think that you have to have all the best equipment and like, do I need to buy a doc cam? And do I need all these new apps and video editing things on my computer that I don't know how to use? And those things can become so overwhelming in and of themselves that they're going to stop you from actually moving forward and are probably really not what you or your students need right now. So just saying like, it's okay, this isn't going to be perfect. Giving yourself permission to not compare yourself to people that have been doing this for years, or people that maybe have other people even helping them, and just saying, I'm going to do the best that I can do right now with what I have. And I think that can also be really empowering to show to your students, because your students are feeling a lot of the same things that you are, of helping them to see, we're in this together, we're learning new things and trying them, we're going to make mistakes, it's not going to be perfect, and that's going to be okay. And the other part of that is remembering, and maybe this is just me, but I don't think it's just me, is even when you are in person in the classroom and you're doing a demo, there are plenty of times that I did a terrible demo. In fact, once I was teaching slip molds and we picked like the biggest slip mold, filled it all the way to the top with slip, and like right when it was at the top, the seal burst and just like covered myself and several students in slip. Like, that's a terrible demonstration. So if you were using video, you could edit that out. In real life, you're just like, I have students and myself covered in clay now. And so it's always helpful for me to kind of remember that, laugh at myself, and know that's okay for that to show up in your videos as well. Your students will enjoy it. So let yourself not be perfect. The second one is to really focus on what your learning objectives are. And this one is really focused for those of you that are like, I'm a ceramics teacher. How am I supposed to teach ceramics when my students don't have clay? Or I teach digital photography and now my students don't have access to SLR cameras, or they don't have Photoshop or Lightroom, or they just don't have any of the things that you would normally teach with. And so in reality, we're not suddenly going to get clay or pottery wheels or things like that in the hands of all of our students. So going back to what your learning objectives are and thinking about, what do you really want your students to learn? So what were you trying to teach? And so in ceramics, if your objective was helping students to understand form and function, then that's what you're going to go with, and think about what are other ways that you can help them learn that. So maybe they start to critique the items in their home and think about like, what are things that they think are really beautiful and then work really well versus the things that they're like, this drives me crazy because it never actually works well. Have them pull out their favorite mug or their favorite cup and start to think about, why is that actually their favorite? Because it often is going to be tied to the form and function of the piece. And then if you really want to get them into making, challenge them to use the materials they have. This is some of where even we're going to have to keep letting go of that perfection. They don't have clay. That doesn't mean they can't learn some of the basic building blocks. So they could be challenged to build a vessel, and they might use paper, but they can still think about what is the form and what is the function and what is the material and how is that connected. Maybe they're going to use found objects. And so I like to think about this, and I will say, so my online teaching, my students all have to provide all of their own supplies. So I never can actually give them a supply list. All of my students are always working with completely different things. Is using this as a new creative problem to solve. So this is a creative constraint, and instead of getting frustrated with it, we're going to hopefully kind of start to be playful and see where we can push in other directions. And then think about, once our students are back in person, now they still have a lot of those foundational skills that we can connect back to ceramics, or we can connect back to that exact material that we couldn't have them use. The next one is to keep it simple. So especially if you've never taught art online or just taught anything online before, don't try to do everything at once. So really think about what is the bare minimum that you need to do to get your students the information that they need. And that's where you need to start, and then keep on building as you get comfortable with one thing, build to the next. So it might mean that you just turn on the camera on your phone and you post a video to Instagram or Facebook. My brother is a phys ed teacher and hated technology up until about yesterday. And he is now making videos on his phone and posting them to Facebook for students to now do phys ed online, and slowly learning. It might mean that you actually instead are spending time collecting YouTube videos that go over the concepts that you're going to teach. Remember, you don't have to make all of the videos. If you were in person in a classroom, I'm guessing that a lot of times you were linking to other video clips and using other resources. You can keep doing that when you're at home. And in fact, you probably want to do it even more. And then really give yourself that commitment, especially with time, of maybe you're just going to film the video once and you're not going to edit it. If you've never edited a video before, this probably isn't the time to decide to also learn that, or you're not going to get anything out the door. So go back to that. If I was in person, I don't get to edit. You're going to hear everything I say, see everything I do, and just roll with it. The next one is keep a schedule. And I know, especially if you're like Amanda and you have kids at home and a spouse at home, or maybe your partner's at home, you're like, wow, you must live an interesting life that you think I can still keep a schedule. So stay with me for a second. So this is a little bit more about how you think about it. So I want you to imagine, if you were going into the classroom tomorrow, if you were still going to school tomorrow, you had some kind of schedule. So if on your schedule you were teaching Intro to Art from 8 to 9 a.m., I want you to either think about it, can you actually prepare content during that same time frame? If that sounds like a crazy idea and not a reality for you, then think about the time span that you have, an hour. And so sometime during the day, you are going to teach Intro to Art. And that means you're going to look at the lesson you would teach if you were going into the classroom and keep as much of it the same as you can. You don't have to reinvent the whole wheel. So if you would do a demonstration tomorrow, that is telling you that you need a video, that either you're going to record a video or you're going to find a video. If you were going to do a class critique tomorrow, then that might mean, depending on your situation and your student situation, that you're going to do a Google Hangout or a Zoom call and have a critique. That might mean all of my critiques with my students, we put it in a Google Doc and everybody just starts leaving comments. My students are actually all over the world, so we're not the same time zone. So live calls is not always possible, but thinking about, you don't have to change the whole lesson, so that as much as you can keep what you were already going to teach. You're just changing how the information is going to get to them. But part of keeping that schedule should also help give you some parameters. So if you were normally, if it was going to take you an hour to teach that class, the goal is going to be for it to still just take you about an hour to teach that class, so that you're not redoing videos over and over and over again. The other part to think about as you're looking at your schedule is, how many classes do you teach the same of? Like, do you have 5 sections of 3rd grade? Do you have 3 sections of middle school? And then this is the exciting part, because then once you've done the demo one time, now you share that with the students for those 3 or 5 other classes. So there are places where this can start to save you time, or that can be the place if you're like, but I really wanted to do it again. Then you could try and do it again. But giving yourself that permission, use things over and over again. That is the joy of teaching online. We're so used to students want us to repeat ourselves all the time. They still want you to repeat yourself all the time. And this took me a while to learn, so please learn from me. Just like reshare them the video. You don't have to like re-say it. You just send them the video again, or you copy and paste the same comment that you already wrote again. You don't have to retype it. So it can actually save you repeating yourself. The next one is hold office hours. And this is, again, like a mindset, not like an official hold office hours, unless that's what works for you. So students are probably going to be emailing you at all kinds of day and night and think you should respond instantaneously. That is not good for you to feel like you have to be responding all the time. So the concept of office hours is, one, if you're communicating through email or chat or something like that, tell your students when you will respond, and those are your office hours. That is helpful for you and it's helpful for them. You could also set actual office hours where they can schedule time on your calendar, and that could be a time where you jump on a call and talk to each other. That could be a time where you do a chat back and forth to each other. Or you might just say, hey, during this time, I'm going to be on Zoom. You can just like pop in and out and ask me questions. But being really clear about when students are going to be able to communicate with you and when you're going to respond is going to make everyone feel better. So everyone's looking for this consistency and knowing what to expect. And that's also going to cut down from them being like forwarding you the email asking you if you got the email that they sent you. It will save you a ton of time. Next is helping students collaborate, especially if you have older students, thinking about how you can use either your LMS, if you're using Google Classroom, or however you're dispersing information to your students, is thinking about having them post their questions where everyone can see their questions. So I use Google Classroom, and my students have to post their questions, unless it's super personal, in the main stream of Google Classroom. And the reason for that is students can help each other. This lets them see each other's work, talk about it, see that other students are struggling. It also means that then when I answer the question, everyone else in the class sees the answer to the question. And I will say that this can take some training. So there's always going to be some students that are like, no, I want to email you, or I want to send you a private message. And so I will always respond to them. I need you to go post this in Google Classroom, and then I will answer you there. The second that you start to let students push past those boundaries, they will keep coming back to you. And it can seem hard, and it can maybe even seem mean in the beginning. But if it really isn't a personal thing, it's not something that's just for that student, you want to really help train them. That's going to help you. It's going to help them connect more with their other classmates, and it's going to save a lot of time and deal with the fact that people are going to be working at all different times of the day right now. And then the last thing is to ask yourself what the goal is. And this is a little bit different than earlier when I told you to think about the learning objective. So the learning objective is to really think specifically about the class, the unit, or the lesson that you're teaching. When I tell you to think about the goal, I want this to be more of your overarching thing. So right now we are in new territory and making really quick shifts. And so you want to think about really, what are you trying to achieve? Is the main goal giving some consistency to your students? Is what they really need is just one person that they know is showing up for them every day? Is it really that you just want students to be creating? You know that that really helps them process, and that's super important for them. Do you know that you have students that you're trying to help them get portfolios ready for college? Any of those goals are fine and valid, and each one of them is going to change how you approach this a little bit. And so I would encourage you to take some time. Obviously, you can have more than one goal if you want, but write down, what is your overarching goal? If you can only achieve one or two things through this time period of teaching from home, what would you be really happy with at the end if you said, I did X, Y, and Z, and like pin that in front of your computer and just keep reminding yourself of that when you're feeling kind of overwhelmed, or feeling like you just made terrible videos, or when you just made a video and then you realize it didn't save. Any of those things that kind of get hard and frustrating, that will happen, to help you kind of get back on track of why are you doing this and what's the minimal thing that you have to do to help you reach that goal. So I'm going to turn it back over to Amanda and Tim. And I guess hopefully I'm going to answer the questions that I don't even know they're going to ask me. So.
That's okay. We just have time for probably 2 really quick questions. The first one is, what was the most difficult part for you of learning to teach online?
Oh, I would say, so when I first started making things for my students, I would give them like assignments by the week. So like week 1, here are all of your assignments. And that was not helpful. So my students really needed to, even though they don't all do it by the day, they needed me to do a lot of help in breaking things down for them of like, this is what I recommend you do on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and so forth, even though normally we wouldn't meet in class 5 days a week. So that was definitely a shift for me in how the content needed to be broken down. But it really was, I did what I thought was going to work and kept asking students for feedback and then adjusted.
Perfect. And then just the one other question. What do you think people are going to be struggling with most in the next few weeks? And what can they do to make those struggles a little bit easier?
Yeah. I think part of this is I'm already seeing a lot of teachers posting about this. And that is, what do you do if students aren't turning work in? Mm-hmm. It's a challenge because now when you can see students in person, you can start to figure out a little bit more what might be holding them back of like, do they just not understand the concept? Are they actually just talking to their friends? Are they sleeping? Like, it allows you to troubleshoot a little bit more of what's going on, where now that they're at home, unless they're choosing to be responsive to you, you don't know. And I don't have a miracle solution for you and how to get them to turn things in, to be really honest with you. So, obviously you can reach out to them and see what's going on and really approach it more like you would in your classroom of, I hope that you're okay. Is something else going on? And then I think the other side of that is just, if they're not turning things in, then you have to give yourself permission to not take that personally, to not be offended. And when they do show up again, to work to support them and meet them where they are, because you aren't going to know. And sometimes they won't answer you for a whole host of reasons. And it's not because your lessons are terrible. It's not because they hate you. It's because of, who knows what. And you could drive yourself crazy, getting mad and frustrated, and kind of, you have to do what you can do and then let it go.
Yeah, fair enough. That's some awesome advice. Amber, thank you so much. It's been great to have you here, and people have loved what you had to say. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for arranging this, guys.
Thanks, Amber.
Yep, bye.
All right, next up is Jen Lehman. Jen is an art and tech teacher from Elmhurst, Illinois. She's a 2020 Illinois State Teacher of the Year finalist, Google Certified Innovator, and the founder of Reset EDU. Jen, welcome. How are you tonight?
Hi, thank you. That was a very nice introduction. hoping my connection stays okay here. So I'm here tonight to talk about tech tools, which when we were doing the poll at the beginning, it sounded like that is something that a lot of art teachers really want. But I want to preface it with just saying that I want to echo what Amber said, and I thought it was to be kind to yourself and do whatever you can with what you have, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. Give yourself some leeway. That being said, if you want to learn some tech tools, I'm going to give you a few that are pretty awesome for teaching art, because I'm currently teaching 8th grade art. So I'm going to share my screen briefly. Let's turn this on. All right. Can you see me?
Yes, perfect.
Awesome. Cool. So I'm going to tell you about 3 tools for using video for digital learning. I know video can be very intimidating, and what I would say is just jump in on it. Don't be afraid to be on video, because the more you do is like hearing your voice or I look weird on video, like just jump in. And I mean, we ask kids to do stuff all the time that they're not comfortable with. So it's like, be the example. So my all-time favorite tool is WeVideo. Now, WeVideo is a cross-platform tool. It's available on iOS, Android. It's web-based. You can do it on Chromebooks. I am in a one-to-one Chromebook environment for art. I've been watching the chat, and I can tell you it can be done. It's not an awesome iPad with an Apple Pencil, but it can be done on a Chromebook. WeVideo has free and paid versions. Now, the paid version for schools is the one that you optimally would want. They are running special full versions. If you contact them in the wake of the coronavirus, they'll give you the full pro version for longer. I did put information on here who you can reach out to, because the full version has an entire, I'm going to open mine up. It has an entire catalog of stock media that you can search. So you search party, and I can go in and filter this by video clips. I can filter it by just images. I can filter it by audio, and you create whole videos without filming any of your own footage. So that's kind of fun. And then the other fun thing about WeVideo, of course, is the green screen function. So if I go into a clip and I click on the green screen, I can remove that, so that then when you watch my video, we've got this girl dancing in front of the green screen. So, I mean, that's just the very simplistic version of, things you can do with WeVideo. Now, WeVideo is more of a full-bodied video editing tool. So if you're looking to do like demonstrations, things you might want to post on YouTube that are a little bit more evergreen, that you're going to demos, instructional pieces for a whole unit, you might want to use WeVideo. But I know a lot of us are dealing with more quick and dirty needs right now. So Screencastify is a great one. Screencastify is actually offering the free version, the full version, I'm sorry, for free right now. And I can post the information in the chat for that, because they actually did that after we made this PDF here. So Screencastify is a screencasting tool. It is only, so it's a Chrome extension. So unfortunately, it's the one tool I'm going to show you that's not iOS. And you can just do really easy screencasts. You can do short GIFs, which I love, because how many times do you have to show students, click here, then this, click here, then this, and you can just make a GIF of it. I use Screencastify for my sub plan. So that's kind of my plan for e-learning, is that if I just record my quick intro to what I want students to do for the day, and I just post that in Google Classroom for them to see, I can use my webcam and I can be on there, or I can just talk over the screen. Screencastify and WeVideo both integrate with Google Drive. So there's a lot of just nice interconnected functionality of these tools. And then the last tool is Flipgrid, which is probably the favorite tool of elementary teachers, but I'm a middle school teacher. And I also know my high school teachers love it too. Flipgrid is great if you actually want to do interactive conversations and discussions. And what happens with Flipgrid, I'm going to put this on. Here's my Flipgrid account. You create, this is 100% free. There is an app and there's the web-based version. You create a grid. In my case, I have one called Creative Technology, and then you create topics within there. So my students use this to post their work, actually post examples of their work. We do a project guide to an area. So each term that I have has and then they post their actual projects. I should do the version that you could see. Oh, geez. Sorry there, I'll get back to this. This is very nervous when you're on screen and doing things. So Flipgrid allows you to see the little posts that your students make, and then they can actually talk to each other, or you as a teacher can post, and then you can respond back to them. So what we use it for in my class is they use it to present their project, and then students can come and back on each other's work. So I'm gonna flip back here for a second. So Flipgrid's great if you want to be interactive. Screencastify is great if you want to just kind of disseminate information in kind of a quick and easy way. And then lastly, we video more for, I guess, larger productions. I use it for my YouTube channel. A lot of teachers know me for my video work, so I would urge people to, like, don't be afraid to reach out for help either. I like to help. I have lots of ideas. Yeah, I'm always willing to help. Somebody earlier had some questions about published videos. I was thinking about that. I do publish on YouTube, and you can have public or private. And you can also have your videos in Google Drive and link to your Google Drive video right in there, and then you can set the permissions so that they're only viewable within your network or your school. But with Flipgrid, it's there on that grid, on that link. So that's a great way. You don't have to worry about hosting it. It's just there. So that's kind of nice too. So yeah, those are probably my top 3 video tools. There's so much out there and it's so easy to get overwhelmed, but that would be my top 3 to go to.
No, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. A lot of people are requesting your YouTube channel. So can you jump in the chat after we're done and kind of share your information with everybody?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll post the information for Screencastify and then I'll post my links. I actually got 2 YouTube channels because that's me.
Okay, cool. Just one question from the Q&A. We're trying to stay on schedule here. For somebody who's just starting out, like just learning how to record videos, which of those 3 do you think would be the best platform and why?
I feel like Flipgrid is the easiest because it's all integrated right in your camera and you could download your stuff afterwards. So I think, like, I would go with what's the simplest. Flipgrid tends to be the simplest. I think it's the most widely used. So it'd probably be the easiest to help on that too. But then you kind of upgrade. So maybe Screencastify is intermediate with videos advanced. So I guess that's how I'd work that.
All right, that is great advice. So cool. All right, so for everybody who has questions for Jen, she will stick around in the chat and you can feel free to ask her anything there. Jen, thank you so much. It's been awesome to hear from you.
Thank you, Jen. All right. Well, our next 2 presenters have been working really hard to help get everything that we do at AOEU out to teachers in this situation. So Cassidy Rankin is our director of K-12 curriculum, and she has been working tirelessly behind the scenes to curate all of the amazing content that you've been seeing in the Flex curriculum platform. And Zach Fenton is one of our regional sales managers who works to get districts offerings like Flex and Pro so that teachers don't have to pay for that out of their own pocket, which is amazing and wonderful. And we are so happy to have a team of people like him here. And so Tim and I have brought on Cassidy and Zach to have sort of a chat about how Flex and Pro can be helpful during this trying time. So welcome, you guys. Do you guys want to just introduce yourselves really quick and say kind of what's been going on at your house lately? Cassidy, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. My name is Cassidy Rankin, and I am the director of K-12 curriculum, as Amanda said. So at my house, so we are busy working at AOEU, which is awesome. We work remotely, but I have 4 children as well who are around, which is actually, it's been such a great opportunity. So I'm just trying to like stick in that mindset of like being so grateful for this time because I know that it's going to be a while. And so we're just all getting into a groove. It's their spring break. So we haven't started like school yet. So I am going to take all of the ideas and just have fun with it.
Nice. Thanks. And Zach?
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me. Like Cassidy, I too have 4 kids at my home and they're all K-12ers, first grade to a senior in high school. So we are very busy. This is our first week of virtual school at our home. So we're just trying to figure out our cadence right now, trying to figure out when is homework, who's using the computer, who's not using the computer, who's online, etc. What classes are working, what aren't. So it's really been a community effort around here between my wife and our kids and their teachers and their administrators at school. We're seeing a lot of success and a lot of opportunities to improve, and super excited to have the opportunity not only to be here, but to have the opportunity to help potentially influence and help students throughout the world with what we do here at Art of Education University.
Nice. Thanks, Zach. All right, so I'm going to start with Cassidy. And I know we've had a lot of districts reaching out to AOEU in the past couple of weeks to help during this time. I know our customer engagement specialists have been super busy fielding calls, and with administrators seeing Flex and Pro as being super helpful for distance learning. So if you guys don't know, Pro is our professional development platform. And I heard somebody, or I saw in the chat, someone was asking if this webinar was for PD hours, and it's not. But if you haven't checked out ArtEd Pro, you can get PD hours, basically unlimited PD hours through that. So I would definitely recommend checking that out. And then, like we said, Cassidy is in charge of Flex Curriculum, which is our curriculum platform. And so Cassidy, can you just kind of tell us a little bit about how we're seeing teachers use Flex for online learning, especially in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, so you can use Flex in so many ways, and really that's kind of where the name came from. Is it's flexible in nature, and it's the idea that we can provide all of these awesome content, such as lesson plans, resources, assessments, videos, and you as the Flex user get to curate it together and to create content for your students. So one of the things is you can download content directly from Flex. So you can use it to supplement your online learning right now. You can, for example, you could teach a lesson yourself with a video, maybe using one of the tech tools that was provided, and then you could submit the video. You could then submit the exact lesson plan PDF for a parent to use at home to kind of have like the teacher guide, so they know like what they should be doing in each step of the lesson. You could also upload the content directly to an LMS. So if you download a PDF of the lesson, you could upload it to Google Classroom. You can also use the resources. So the resources, there's over 450 resources. Now they support the content in the lesson plans, but they also can be used individually. And so I'm going to show you in a little bit some of my favorites and some that I pulled that would be good for distance learning. You also can filter content, which is one of my favorite things about Flex. So we know that limited supplies, access to supplies is going to be a real concern. And so you can filter by drawing. We're adding some filters as well that will help you in really narrowing down the content so you're not overwhelmed by what's in Flex. And then also inspiration. So you are creative beings by nature. And so our idea is that we give you the content and you can look at it and say, you know, this will work for me, this won't work for me. I'm going to modify it based on my students. Sometimes all we need to see is an idea and then we can run with it ourselves. So really just sparking that inspiration in you. I don't know if you're like me right now, but like everything is coming at me and there's all of these tips and tricks and ideas. And I just really have to like pick three, and I have to decide like, okay, my boundary right now is I'm going to try these three things and then I'm going to see how they work and I'm going to maybe get rid of one or start a new one. So resources are great, inspiration, assessments. So some of you may be still assessing students, so you can assess them through their artwork, but you also may need a specific assessment, and we have assessments in Flex as well. And then videos. So videos are a great part of Flex that you now can share with students in an LMS, so they can watch the video, and those in themselves not only are great, but they can inspire a lot of lessons that can be used with mild resources as well.
So awesome, Cassidy. Thank you. I'm seeing a lot of questions in the chat, like, what is Flex? Where can I find it? So can you screen share with us and kind of show us what you're talking about in terms of lessons and resources and things? I also saw some questions about if Flex is going to be discounted. The answer is yes. We're doing a big discount, which Zach will talk about in just a little bit. So sit tight and we will tell you all about that in just a couple of minutes. So yeah. Cassidy, you want to share?
Share my screen. Just give me 1 second. So Flex, as Amanda said, is our curriculum that we just released February 4th. Can you see my Flex?
Slow coming up. It's trying though.
I'm just seeing a black screen.
Nope, it failed.
Okay, because I stopped it. So hold on 1 second. Let me try it one more time.
Try one more time.
Maybe 2 more times. Third time's a charm. No.
We are seeing your desktop,
But not Flex.
but not Flex.
Of course. Okay, last time. You guys, I do this like on a daily basis. And
Cassidy, you told us everything in threes, right? So here it comes.
I know
Right.
it's coming. You guys, I have this. I can do this. Okay. Here we go. Share screen. Google. Got it?
No, it's your desktop again.
What the heck is going on?
Hey, let me talk to Zach really quickly, and we can let you try and set that up one more time. So, Zach, let me ask you. I know a lot of districts are starting to bring Pro and Flex to kind of help support their teachers now as we're trying to navigate all this. Can you talk about how school districts are using those tools to kind of help support their teachers?
Yeah, Tim, we've had a lot of folks over the last 2 weeks as schools started to look at options for virtual learning and virtual classes, reach out and connect with us to see how we could help support their teachers, their students, their communities, et cetera. I would say probably the 3 biggest questions I get are, hey, I'm an art teacher. What can I offer to my students online? Everything I have is in my classroom. What can I do that's online? I also get, how is this delivered? How do I deliver this to my students who is literally in a different building, you know, miles and miles away from me? And the third question I get that often is, how do I curate this message? How do I do it in a timely manner? We've been told we have 2 days, we have 3 days, we have till tomorrow to get this up and running. How do I get this online for my students and ready for them for their virtual classes that start literally tomorrow? And really, that's what Flex is. I've been in the ed tech world for many years. I've made a lot of friends helping schools and school districts bring services that bring success to the teachers and to the students. I've reached out, or a lot of those folks have reached out to me, and they want to know what's unique about Flex curriculum specifically. They want to know what's unique about Pro Learning. And really, Tim, my message at least, has not changed from a month ago as it is today, because this is what all Flex is about now. It wasn't developed for this specific instance, but it was developed to give access to students and teachers online, on demand, and make it really personalized. Give teachers the ability to keep that autonomy in their classroom and to deliver a standard-based vetted solution to their students. So first of all, we allow teachers to log into Flex curriculum and discover thousands and thousands of different resources, whether it be a lesson plan or an artist bio, maybe it's an assessment tool, whatever it may be, a video, as Cassidy was talking about. Those are all available to the teachers, and then they can take that information and they can design it into a lesson or into a unit. And what that allows is you to be very flexible, to still have that autonomy as an individual teacher, and it gives you the ability to deliver to your students what you want or what they need, all behind a standard, whether it's a national standard, national core arts standard, or individual state standard. And then finally, we can deliver that platform or that solution or that lesson or that unit to the student, whether they're at home, where I am now. I'm surprised it's so quiet here, quiet with 4 kids, or whether it's inside the classroom, whether it's on an iPad or a laptop, or maybe it's printed out and downloaded and printed out, or maybe it's uploaded into your LMS if you're using an LMS in your school district. really the powerful message that we're sharing, and it's school teachers and districts are drawn to, and is really why I've been so busy over the last couple of weeks, really kind of fielding these questions and helping teachers answer those 3 questions of what they can offer, of how they can deliver it, and how can they curate it in a quick manner. And that's what Flex is doing for us today, and has been ever since its adoption in February.
Awesome. Now, Amanda and Cassidy, I'm not sure who wants to field the. Oh, okay. We won't
got
field this question yet. We'll let Cassidy show us real quickly.
Third time's a charm. I have dual monitors, so yes. Anyways, this is Flex. So when you log in, this is what it looks like. We have collections. Up here, it's at the top. And then if you click here, these are all the different pages. So there's a whole video tutorial. I'm not going to waste your time on that specifically, but I want to show you a couple of things. So in here, this is how you filter content. So there's thousands of content. So as we talked about in Amber's presentation, and just we need you to support you in minimizing the noise and pressure and just helping you find what you need. So you can filter by subject. One of my favorite things are like drawing filters. You can filter by digital. Any of these filters help you narrow it down. Elements and principles. So if I click on that, let's say I wanted to do digital, and I remove that, it'll show the digital collection. If I clear that, go to drawing, here are all of the collections with drawing. I can go to lesson plans then to narrow it down even further. And so that will show specifically the lesson plans that I want to look at. One of the things that I want to show you is so this is why I have these tabs open so you can see them. If you click here, you can go to resources. Here are all of the resources that you can then filter. If you click on it, you can share it, you can download it. So this will show you the actual resource, which then you can download for uploading into your LMS. Videos are here. And then on my standards, so some of you are wondering, how do I filter content even more? So back on the lessons page, you can filter by grade band. So you can filter by beginner, intermediate, or advanced. But here I can actually filter by grade level. So if I want to filter by first grade, then it can show me the results for everything that is aligned to a first grade standard. So standards are super important when we think about what is your goal and what is your why. I encourage you to focus on the standards. If you want to search by standard, not by grade level, you can actually search here, and you can narrow it down by one of the artistic processes. And so I think within Flex, there's a lot of resources. Implementation, this is open to anyone who's not even a Flex user. Go here to get some information on how to kind of use it, watch this walkthrough, and then you can pull up information to support specifically what you're looking for. So do you have any questions?
No, I think we're good there. I did have a question for Zach that keeps popping up. Now, we have heard or have seen that we're offering a discount for Pro or for Flex right now. Can you talk about the discounts that are available for teachers?
Sure. So Tim, there's a couple different options that you can explore. One would be as a district purchase, and one would be as an individual teacher. Really, our core belief here at the Art of Education University is teachers really shouldn't have to pay for this out of their pocket. So as a district, and hopefully, Amanda, you can share my contact or the contact information for our sales team. As a district, we have been authorized to advocate for you as art teachers to work with your district. And we've been given authority to potentially or to even offer a dramatic and simplified way to speed up the buying process. Create specific terms in the district where they can purchase it now and pay for it with next year's budget, and get Art Ed Pro, to get Flex Curriculum in front of you or in front of your students ASAP, and then payment comes with next year's budget or however it is that payment's coming. We also understand that that teachers need it now, want it now, and really need to purchase it on an individual basis. And so if you're a teacher that's looking to purchase this on an individual basis, it's also been approved, as Derek says in the chat, that these discounts can be offered for $150 towards a individual pro learning license or a flex curriculum license. And those are the two different options that we have. Really, what I would suggest is potentially reaching out, and maybe I can just go into that if that's okay, Amanda, but I would suggest reaching out. The fastest way to connect with you, with the right person, to help us work with you on a district level is to go to a URL, and if you could pop it up there, it would be great. I'm going to read this off, so it's a long one. theartofeducation.edu/webinar-product-questions.
Yep,
Again,
we have it in the chat, Zach. So
awesome. Thank you.
Just dropped it in.
If you're more comfortable with the phone call, I mean, I think the form is going to be the best and fastest way to get you connected with the right individual in your area. But if you're more comfortable with a phone call, you can also reach us at 515-293-7018 to explore either of those options and really determine what's going to be best for you, for your district, and for really your community moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. And then one last question that keeps popping up, Cassidy or Amanda, I don't know if you want to take this, but can you just quickly explain the difference between Pro and Flex for everybody who's watching and everybody who has questions about that?
Yeah, I can do that. So Pro is for the teacher. It's professional development for you. So how to teach different materials, how to improve your classroom management, how to become an art teacher leader, how to motivate reluctant learners. All of these are sort of topics within Pro. And Flex, so Pro is teacher facing, Flex is student facing. And so Flex is materials directly for your students, resources, videos. I saw somebody ask, can the videos be shared with students? Yes, they can. We just figured out how to make that happen for everybody a couple of days ago. So we're super excited about that. So I guess that would be the main difference. Pro is teacher facing, Flex is student facing, Pro is professional development, Flex is curriculum for students.
All right,
So,
perfect. And Cassidy, is there anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
I would just say go over to Flex, check it out, spend a little bit of time researching, check that implementation page. We are here to support you at AOEU. You know, we have the magazine, we have this opportunity. So just like reach out to us, let us know what you're looking for. We are here to create content for you. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and we're here to support you.
Awesome. Well,
I just wanted to jump in super quick. I'm seeing a ton of questions about pricing. If you go to the Flex or Pro pages, you can see that, yes, you can bundle them together to save. So many people are getting their district to pay for it. That pricing is different. So reach out to somebody like Zach with our sales team with that contact info we put for you there, because that will be a different pricing structure depending on, you know, your district. And we are offering $150 off right now of either Pro or Flex, or if you choose to bundle them together, you can also get the $150 off. You might need to contact customer engagement if you want to go that route. And we're not talking about this right now, but we're also waiving our master's degree application fee, which is $100. So if you're interested in that, you can take care, what am I trying to say? You can take advantage of that deal as well. So anyway, just wanted to get that out there before we move on.
No, that is perfect. All right, Cassidy, Zach, thank you so much. It's been great to talk to you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks for having me.
All right, now next up is the wonderful Abby Shukai. Over the weekend, Abby created an article with just a plethora of ideas that you can easily do at home for yourself, with your own kids, or even, you know, assign to your students for distance learning. And she's here to share some of her favorites. So Abby, first, how are you? And secondly, can you tell us a little bit about your article and everything that it covers?
I'm pretty good, except there's like a pretty ominous storm out right now. Right. So I can like hear things blowing around. So if I like look over at something, that's because there might be like a trash can coming through the window. I'm not sure. Yeah, so I want to share with you a little bit about the article that I wrote recently, and I'm going to show you how I'm implementing actually some of those own some of those ideas in my classroom and kind of work you through it a little bit. Because as I think the theme of all of this, that, you know, we're a little overwhelmed with what we're supposed to do with this online transition of teaching, and we just need to calm down a little bit. And I have some easy ways to help you make that transition. So I am going to share my screen. I have lots to show you. Let's see. Here we go. Can you see my browser? Yes. Okay. All right. So this is the article, 27 art activities and lessons to try at home. I know that it's linked on the landing page and you'll be able to get to that. But when I wrote this article, all of these things were, when I wrote it, keeping in mind like low or no technology access, because that's the biggest thing with our students is we don't know what kind of materials they have at home or anything like that. So as you go through here, I kind of have it divided up into the alternate paint ideas that people can use at home. And I'm going to touch on one of them here in a minute. Things people can do with found objects, and 3D lesson ideas, which is something that those of you that are teaching 3D classes, ceramic classes, sculpture classes, something that you are struggling with a little bit. But there's some great ideas here, homemade recipes for clay that students might be able to use. And we have tons of drawing activities, and drawing is going to be kind of the most important thing for you when you're doing this, because we don't know what our students have at home. Hopefully they have a pencil and a paper. And from there, we can kind of work with it. So lots of free downloads and resources in here that you guys can go to and take a look at. So let me share another thing with you. So I want to highlight, I'm going to share this. I'm going to highlight a couple of these that are in there. So I teach 7th and 8th grade, and just a little background on what my current situation is right now with my students is we don't have access to technology for my students. We don't have access to give them Chromebooks and things like that. It's whatever they have at home, that's what they have. And we don't really know what that is. So our expectation from my school is to come up with 3 to 5 activities a week that I put into a Google Drive folder. The district takes care of emailing. We communicate with our students via email or like Google Classroom if we have that practice already in there. But our school takes care of collecting the activities, and they upload it onto their website and mass communicate to parents about what information is up there. And then from there, people can download what's there, or if they request a printed packet, they will send it in the mail to them. So this is what I did for my first week. What students are going to be doing. These are the 2 activities that I put in there, and I actually already have students who have shared some things back, and I want to show you a variety of ways that you can do this. So this is the what is it drawing prompt, which is so good for every single age level, and it can be done with a variety of mediums. This is a free download that we will have for you. So like this is a student today who she didn't print these out. So what she did was she just drew, you can kind of see like the lines, she drew them herself, and then with what she had, sent a picture of it, and this is what she turned them into. So maybe not technology except for taking a picture to show it to me. Kids aren't required to turn things in for me, but it's more like they want something to do. They're like, oh my gosh, thank you for providing these things. So then here was another one. So this student, I think that they might have just done it on their phone using like the markup tool or something like that. She sent it, she like had them all done in like 2 seconds, and she was like, do you have more? And I was like, I just sent you 20. So, but 2 different ways where my students, my 7th and 8th graders took it in 2 different directions. And so like, basically these are activities that your students can do with what they have. Another really popular one is going to be the 100 and silly drawing prompts, because they are so fun. There's 100 of them. And for those students who are really need some ideas or have a really great sense of fantasy and just need to be pushed a little bit. There's so many ideas on here. And so once again, your students might choose to turn those in a variety of ways where they might, look at the difference in the quality there. This person here, the student here, labeled them and just thumbnail sketches, while this one on the other image is more refined, and they're doing with what they have. So it's really kind of fun to see that. Now, oh shoot, I don't know if this screen is blocking there, but this one's really fun too, because you can do it digitally as well. This one is, I'm probably going to butcher your name, John Belenio. He is very active on Twitter. He's a teacher, and he's been doing the drawing prompts along with his students. And he's actually been incorporating different artworks into him. So like the other one, he had I think it was a Degas one today with draw flamingos dancing. And so he's kind of incorporating into it that way. So this can be adapted in a huge variety of ways there. Okay, so then the last thing that I am going to share with you, let's see, I might have to, highlighted in that video here, I have like a time-lapse video that I'm gonna show you. There's no sound or anything with it, so I hope it works. So I can just talk over it. Can they see this? Yeah, okay. All right, so what I did here is so one of the things we talked about, paint. Our students might not have paint at home, but what are the things that they have at home that they can use? And we want to be careful with food and things like that, because we don't know what our students' home lives are. But one thing that we can reuse kind of the remnants of are coffee grounds to kind of make your own type of watercolor paint. So here's just a really, really quick time lapse of, there we go, of using just how you would use regular watercolor. And you could have your students do that using the ground coffee that, their parents had, or from the night before, the day before, or something like that. And it's kind of a challenge because it is like paint, but you have to use the material in a little bit of a different way. But it's also just kind of cool because it is like watercolor, but it challenges your students. You can see you'll get a little coffee ground in there and things like that. But it's a way for your students to really showcase their creativity. And this entire challenge that we have right now of trying to do all these classes online or however we can is a creative challenge, and we can share that and show that with our students as well. So yeah, I think that's it.
All right, that is awesome. Thank you, Abby. That was really, really cool to see. We have a couple questions that have come in for you. A lot of people are asking how you're getting all of these photos from your students and what the best way is to kind of communicate with them or allow them to send those pictures to you.
Yeah, so I'm using Google Classroom. I am sending emails to my students and parents and guardians. But I did set all of the and because we don't know what the technology status is for each of my students, it's not an expectation for them to use technology, but because I wanted them to be able to share and like we're all chatting with each other and things like that, I did set up my assignments in Google Classroom that just students can then turn them in that way. So kids are just turning in pictures. I haven't had anybody, because really like kids don't really check their email. So Google Classroom is, because that's like for my students, that's what we use it in school. So they know how to use it. So that's something that they can do on their phone or really any type of device that they have access to. So kids are just taking pictures and turning it in Google Classroom.
Okay, cool. And then speaking of Google Classroom, I know you have an article in the works about Google Classroom. Can you talk a little bit about what you're planning to write, what you're planning to share in there?
Yeah, I think for the majority, and I know not everybody, our students we're used to using Google a lot. So Google Classroom seems like for school districts that don't already have like an adapted learning management system, Google Classroom is going to be the easiest for you to kind of organize and get everything on there. So, and we've had a lot of questions over the last week about, I don't know how to use Google Classroom, and kind of the ins and outs of it. Like, how do you see their work? How do you set things up? So I'm working on an article that should hopefully be up very early next week, that will have some video demonstrations in it and kind of walk you through what types of assignments would be in there. I will actually show you too, like those 2 assignments that I just talked about. I'll show you how I have those put in Google Classroom. I'll show you how maybe more of an advanced assignment with like some video or things like that might be in it as well. But we'll just kind of break it down and walk you through it as best we can.
Perfect. All right. And then last thing before we let you go, any words of advice for everybody out there?
You know, we as Amanda said, this too shall pass. No, I think the biggest thing that it was really cool when because technically I wasn't supposed to set up my Google Classroom stuff until Monday, but I did it today. And literally within minutes, like I didn't send anything to the kids yet. They just got like notifications on Google Classroom from my classes, and they're like, oh my gosh, thank you. I'm so bored. I'm so bored. They just like wanted something to do. And like, I was like, hey, what are you guys up to? They're like, we've been sleeping, blah, 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 like telling me all this stuff. And they're like, but I'm bored. And I was like, well, good. Here's some stuff for you to do. So it's, I think the amazing thing is, especially with my middle schoolers who just, you know, can sometimes be tough. It was cool to see, you know, they miss us. They will miss us even if they don't. So, yeah, just kind of, we're there for them. I guess it's not so, I think the big focus is, it's not so much about like what we're doing or like what art activity we're providing to them. At the end of the day, it's about the kid, and just by you reaching in and sending a quick message, it'll be cool. It'll be awesome. So just go with it. We got this.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Abby.
Thank
you.
Abby. All right, next up, we're going to keep rolling along. If you want to participate in a very short art making experience, go ahead and grab your paper and grab your drawing materials or painting materials, whatever you have lying around. Go ahead and grab those. If you were at our last Art and Now conference back in February, you saw a lot of our next presenter. She's also a writer for AOEU and works on the pro side of things for us as well. So tonight, Sarah Krajewski is here to share an art making idea as well as some ideas for mindfulness. And she also, I'm just going to say it, probably wins for best background for the webinar, which if you don't know, she painted herself. So woman of many talents. So Sarah, can you tell us a little bit about what you're going to talk about tonight?
Yeah. First of all, let me just acknowledge my fly on the wall of like all the presentations. I know we're all just getting used to how this webinar works, so I was just like kind of waiting during Abby's presentation. So I just wanted to acknowledge that was like a fun, like you can all just watch. But yeah, I'm excited. Actually, speaking of this too shall pass, that's actually what my sign is. So I'm going to talk about 2 things today. And the first one is about creating a positivity poster, which there's a download for in your email that we had sent out before. It looks like Amanda has that up.
Right here. Yep.
Yep. And then the second one is about some mindful hand washing. So yeah, I'll just dive into it if that's cool.
Definitely. Yes.
A couple things that I was just kind of thinking about as I was brainstorming what I was going to talk about was there's things I feel like that we've all done that we've probably never done before in the last few days. For example, I've never like counted how many bags of beans I have in my pantry, or like left mail in the mailbox for like 3 days because I was like nervous to open it, or like presented to, 800 art educators with no shoes on, like, because this is all uncharted territory. So all of this is really new for us, and it's going to be humans what comes from all of it. But I think I just want to acknowledge the fact that this is weird, and it's different and it's like super out of our comfort zone, but that it's okay. So like I've had my ups and downs of stuff. Near the end, we'll talk a little bit about some anxiety and some things that you can kind of go through, but like there's no perfect way to figure out how to do this. Like a few days ago, I've been trying to take daily walks and I was literally sobbing through my sunglasses on my daily walk. Like, I don't know what's happening. So just know that you're not alone and we're all in this together. We're going to figure it out. So with that, a couple things to talk about as far as the making of your art goes. So again, Amanda had that kindness poster. Basically, if you haven't seen it already, I think it kind of started in Italy, but there's been so many people spreading positivity, both like really well-known Instagram artists that have been making beautiful digital works that they've been sharing, people that have created posters that they're posting on their windows. But there's one in particular in Italy, I think it says usually like, everything will be all right, or be well, or like this too shall pass. There's some kind of common phrases, and then usually a rainbow or something that's really positive that people can help share positivity for those of us that are healthy, but you know, like together, or like together and alone, you know? So what the first thing is that you can do is if you have some sort of tool to start making a poster, I would suggest doing that either while you're watching now or maybe later. So my This Too Shall Pass poster is actually downstairs, and like it's usually hanging in our downstairs window, and I had to like make it fit the panes of our window because we have these weird inserts. So I would encourage you to make a poster because, as I've noticed, a lot of people in my neighborhood have been going on very many more walks. So it's kind of nice to have a note of positivity so that as they're walking, it's encouraging you to stay positive. So that's the first activity we can be doing. And of course, there's lots of ideas on the handout about phrases you can use or symbols of positivity. And it's hopefully going to make you feel a little bit better, like you can do something to kind of control the way that you feel and the way that you are engaging with the situation. So again, there's a
Sarah,
download.
can I jump in for 1 sec?
Yes.
I just want to remind everybody, we have this for you to download, and this would be awesome to upload in an LMS or send out as an email or print and send home to your students. So like not only can you be working on your own right here, but you can also take this download and give it out to your students. So this could definitely be something that they could do for art class at home. So just wanted to remind everyone. Thanks.
Yes. In fact, so I'm pretty active on Instagram. My handle there is Artroom Glitter Fairy. And just recently I've been starting something called the Cool Beans Club art tutorials because I can't not do anything ever. So I started making videos that are on my YouTube channel, as well as I've been streaming them once a day on Instagram. And the first lesson that I had up was a positivity poster. So if you want to show that video to your kids, I figured I'd just get a jump start on it. It's basically this lesson, but said for students or for adults, it doesn't matter. And kind of making that easy. Also, because I have you here, a couple people were asking about video, and I want to sort of make you feel a little bit more comfortable. The first one is, don't feel like you have to have your face on video. If you are nervous and you've never filmed yourself before, just like do a top-down thing and just be, and then put in, you know, say these are the directions. Like nobody's saying you have to have your face on there if you're scared or nervous. Also, even for my YouTube and IGTV videos that I've been doing, literally I'm balancing my phone on a shelf and then I'm using this thing, which I took down to show you. It's like a clippy, it clips to a whatever, it clips onto my shelf, and then my phone just goes into this thing. So like goes right in there, and then I can have my phone above for like a bird's eye view. So all I have is a shelf to balance, my phone, and this. So tech shouldn't scare you as far as materials, and I don't even need this. So I'm not doing anything fancy, just using like iMovie, which I'm comfortable using, but some people may not be, and you can go as simple as you want. So just to answer a few questions about how video works. Okay, so as far as the poster goes, hopefully you're brainstorming a few ideas for spreading positivity. And then the second thing I wanted to talk about was the other download, which you may have seen. And that one is more about mindfulness a little bit and thinking about trying to calm your nerves. I have had, as I'm sure many of you have had, lots of panic attacks, right? Like I don't want to say struggle with anxiety because I want to embrace my anxiety, but I have had anxiety my entire life. And this particular world event is testing that anxiety to an extreme that I've never had it tested before, as many of us are feeling, right? So I wanted to sort of brainstorm a way to kind of ground yourself a little bit. And ironically, when I was on the podcast with Tim earlier, he was joking about, like, we were talking about mindfulness. And when I had part of my article was talking about how to do mindful hand washing in your classroom, because as an art teacher, you wash your hands like 40 times a day. And it is a thing that I do in my classroom, but now more so than ever, like all of a sudden mindful hand washing is like kind of the whole, like that is our life right now. So on the CDC website, I know they say like, or people always say like, sing happy birthday to yourself, but like, that's not fun to me and that's not going to calm my nerves. So the download that we have for you is basically like how to make a mindful hand washing mantra, so that instead of like counting to yourself or having a kid sing a song that they're going to find really boring, maybe repeat a mantra or make up a mantra, or on the download at the bottom, it's organized in rectangles so that you could cut those and put those up onto your bathroom mirror. I've actually used, like I had Crayola window markers at home and I wrote on my mirror, like, it's okay, it will be okay, kind of affirmations for myself. And I want you to think about a mantra or a motivation that's going to help you and make you feel like whatever your level of anxiety is for that day, whether you're having an okay day or like a really not okay day, then that kind of mantra as you're washing your hands is like your way to ground yourself. So a couple that I had kind of thought of was like, I'm strong mentally, emotionally, and physically. I'm here right now. So reminding you to be present in that moment. You're washing your hands, you're on the earth, you're in your home or your apartment or whatever, and you're there. So really trying to give yourself a sense of purposeful intention and paying attention to what's around you. Also, like giving yourself affirmations that are important to you. Like I like to hear, think to myself, I'm positive, I'm good, I can do this, I can be peaceful. And then even just things to ground yourself, like again, on the download, my feet are solid on the ground, my eyes see my best me, my heart is full, my body's strong, whatever might help you to get yourself ready to like just keep going in whatever capacity you can. So the hand washing is something that I never thought that we would create as a download, but I feel like it could be useful. And I mean, again, to give you a little bit of a backstory, as a kiddo, like I struggled with anxiety again from ever since I can remember. And a great friend of mine created a mantra with me when I was like 6 years old, and I still remember it. So now I just say my mantra to myself like 2 times as I'm washing my hands right now, and I'm ready to go. And I'll share it with you guys because it's basically just about being calm, because I always just feel myself like lightning, right? If we know what anxiety feels like. So it's, I am silent, I am serene, I am a shoreless lake of peace. And I just repeat that in my head as I wash my hands. So if you want to use that one or something else, it might help you to hopefully take a deep breath and be a little bit more positive. Also, I talk a million miles a minute, so I apologize. But even at the end of the Cool Beans Club videos that I'm doing for my students on Instagram and on YouTube, the last like minute or so, I'm doing a meditation with them, like a guided meditation on the tutorial. So I try to just encourage them to do like a breathing exercise or something, because the reason I was crying on my walk was because I was thinking about how confused my kids must be, how like scared and like they don't know what's going on, and I'm not sure anyone can really properly explain to them what is happening. So I was so upset by that, and I felt like part of my job was, yes, to give them art and for them to see my face in a calm way, in whatever way I could do it, but also just to give them a sense of like strength. So I think teaching them about how to be mindful and positive during this is going to be maybe one of the more important tools than even the art making, or to kind of find their creativity through that too.
That's so awesome, Sarah. Thank you so much. If you guys are wondering, this is what the hand washing download looks like. And again, this is, we'll drop the link in the chat and it'll be available on the AOEU website later, but this would be an awesome thing. Again, you can give this out to your kiddos. Like this would be great for kids to do at home. That's mindfulness related, maybe not necessarily art related, although they could write and design their mantra and then stick it by their sink, which would be another cool project.
Yeah.
Sarah, okay, we're a little bit over, so I have just one question for you to wrap up. Number one, can you share any general tips? You talked a lot about anxiety, and I know Sarah and I live very close to each other and we are friends and we know that we have the same brain. So I also struggle with this, but any general tips about coping with anxiety that you found particularly helpful? And then and then if you want to give any other advice, just real quick for maybe 2 minutes before we move on.
Yeah, something that I know was mentioned a little bit before that I personally struggle with is comparing a lot. And I want to just reiterate again that there is in no way any reason why you should be comparing yourself to someone else during this moment. All you need to do is just do the best for you. And if what it is showing your kids a YouTube video of someone else, that's fine. If it's like laying on the floor and holding hands with your kids, like it doesn't matter, right? There's no reason to compare and say, well, somebody else is doing this and I'm not, because that's not at all what is happening. I was speaking to somebody else and they were like, well, I've never filmed myself before, I'm so nervous. And I said, this is not the time to add extra stress to your life. Do what you're comfortable with. And if you want to learn, awesome. And if you can't, that's fine too. And then coping with my anxiety, I fear that the longer this happens, the more my days are going to blend together. And I'm a little nervous about that because when I wake up and it feels like it's the same, that is kind of scary to me. So something that I started doing was I have this little journal that I made actually at the Wisconsin Art Ed conference. And each day it's like bullet journaling, but literally it's like 5 bullets. And I write, my husband made eggs for lunch today and I went on a walk and I saw a dog or whatever, right? Like I'm just writing bullets because that way I feel like I can go back and say, oh, it was 2 days ago that I filmed XYZ Cool Beans things. Like it's a way to kind of keep very simply, kind of keep track of what I'm doing so that I can feel like I have some sort of control over what my day is and what's happening. So if that at all helps too, that can be a way to help control some anxiety and some unstable moments.
That definitely helps. I have I did this in neon for you. I had a black light, but I don't think it's gonna glow.
Oh
but,
no.
If you're watching on Facebook and if you made a poster and you want to drop it in the chat to let us see it, man. It has been a long day. It has been a long week. Go ahead and do that. Thanks so much, Sarah.
All right, thank you, Sarah. All right, now our final guest for the evening is Libby Beatty. You may have heard Libby on the Art Ed Radio podcast with me last week. As Amanda mentioned earlier, Libby is teaching from Seoul, South Korea. And she talked with me last week about her school closure, how she's adapted to distance learning with her students and with her family. So Libby, hello, welcome. How are you?
Hi, Tim. I'm good. It's so exciting to be here. Hi, Amanda. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
We were talking earlier about how it's Friday morning for you, which is kind of fun. And you're doing some online parent-teacher conferences right now?
Yes, we have online parent-teacher conferences yesterday and today. So that's a first for us or for me. So you might hear a bell. We have a bell that goes off every now and then to let us know that conference is done. So I apologize in advance that might happen, but yeah.
That's all good. That's all right. Now, real quick, before we kind of dive in, everybody who's watching right now, if you have questions for Libby that you would like answered, feel free to put those in the chat. Amanda and I can kind of pull those in as we go through this Q&A session. I know a couple people are talking about lessons that are coronavirus related. And Libby, I know you have a couple that you may want to share a little bit later, but before we get there, can you talk a little bit about how things have progressed for you over the past few weeks? Like, what was it like when your school first closed? How has it changed over the few weeks since then?
Yeah, sure. So we're actually finishing up our 4th week of virtual learning, and next week is spring break for us. So when we first got the news 4 weeks ago, it's probably where you are now. And we thought, when we heard it at the time, we thought, okay, well, we need to have a few days of lessons ready to go. You know, it's kind of all surreal. You're trying to figure out, wait, what's happening? And you just have to kind of get your bearings as a person and everything that you have to think about with a family and life, and then think about, okay, and I somehow have to keep doing my job. But 4 weeks in, I'll say it's the new normal. The you know, the shock and the, oh my goodness, what are we doing, has gone. And now this is the new normal. And so we're at a more, this is what's happening, and we're not freaking out as much as we did at the beginning. It's obviously not ideal. There are obviously still challenges, but just to give you a little hope, I know you're at the beginning now, it sounds like. And so I think it will get easier on many levels. We are still looking forward to spring break starting tomorrow, I will say that. Yeah.
Now, can you talk a little bit along those lines too about what daily life is like in Seoul, like how closings have happened over the past few weeks? You know, that's something that I think a lot of people are nervous right now, because like you said, we're right at the beginning of things. So, you know, just from your perspective, can you tell us about what has happened and what we might expect to see happen here in the coming weeks?
Yes, I can give you my perspective from Seoul, South Korea. Now, I don't know what I'm sure going to look different in America. And I will say that they've handled it very well here.
Mhm.
The epicenter of where the cases were is a few hours away from here. So it's obviously affected Seoul as well. And when it first started, I mean, masks are a big thing. Most everyone's wearing masks, and you'll see later, one of my art projects is linked to that. Temperatures, I had my temperature taken this morning. I'm in my classroom this morning because of parent-teacher conferences, but I've been working remotely from home. You know, if you go to the hospital, you go anywhere, your temperature's checked, you're filling out forms. If you've been in contact with anyone, if you've been in an area where it's happened, things have shut down, definitely. Many events have been canceled, which is disappointing on many levels. 2 of my kids were planning to be in the musical, and it was almost, the performance was getting, you know, we're all dealing with those things. So again, it's become, this is where we are now. So how do we do this the best we can where we are now? But life is still goes on as well. You know, all these events have been canceled. Life looks different. We try to avoid public transportation, large gatherings, but you still wake up and do life that day. So you keep pushing on. It just looks different right now.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I guess I want to ask you to, just moving toward the teaching thing, with this time where you are doing social distancing and you're trying to teach online, like what have you found are the best ways for you to connect with your students?
Yeah, good question. I use Google Classroom. That's my primary form of communication and how my students turn work in. And we're fortunate in that our students, I teach middle school art, so 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and they're able to turn things in via Google Classroom. They have access to that technology, which we're very fortunate in that way. And but I've also looked for other ways to connect with them, because I know that they're on other social media sites. So Instagram, I'm pretty active on Instagram. And I don't have as much work all the time to put out, but I'm trying to still keep active there to stay in their world. And as we've talked about in the podcast, you know, I started a TikTok account during this time, and I share those TikTok videos daily with them, because I really want them to see that I'm a human, and I go out and I'm trying to be active, and I want to connect with them and have fun and laugh and be silly. And I feel like that's really connecting with them on another level as well. Even in parent-teacher conferences, having parents and students say, they love your TikTok videos. So at least, you know, I know I'm making a fool of myself. It's fun, but I want them to know I care. I'm thinking of them, and I want to celebrate that we've made it through another day in this crazy time together. So Instagram, TikTok, Google Classroom, definitely. And then I'm trying to do more on YouTube to kind of collect those things and then share out from there as well, if your kids have access to that and that works for you. There's so many options, like has been talked about. So just finding what works best for the kids that we have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I know teachers appreciate those specific recommendations for platforms and things. I want to switch gears just a little bit and talk about lessons. So can you describe your shadowing lesson and kind of how you set that up and explained it to your kids?
Sure. Is it possible for me to try to share my screen?
Yes.
Okay, let me give that a go and I'll take you to my Instagram page. Let's see. Okay. It says desktop 1. Sorry. Let's just try this.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, I think you still see me right now. Is that right?
Yes, we're still seeing you.
Okay. And I think I want to allow Zoom to use it. Okay. I haven't done this before. This is part of this whole experience, right?
You know what?
That's
Like
right.
tonight has been all about learning new things and figuring out new situations. So
That's right.
we're there.
can
We
see
can see
it.
your Instagram now.
Oh, that was successful. Fantastic. Okay, so you're going to see where we were still in school, and can you see my mouse floating around?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So I landed with my 8th graders. We were doing tape murals all around the middle school. I had all my kids out there. And then you'll see a big shift to, wow, we're all home and creating. So this was a project, the first project we did. I referenced the masks because all my students, in fact, when we were in school, my students were wearing masks, which was an interesting time because hearing what students are saying through their masks is an interesting experience. So I'm walking up and excuse me, can you just say that a little bit louder? Try not to make it very obvious. So then when we're home, I thought, I have to do a project with masks. And I loved this because there was such variety in what the kids turned in. And I just wanted them to face where we were at and be able to have a way to express, this is where we are, this is what we look like, and let's create some art about that. So here are some of my awesome students that I miss 4 weeks in very much. And I put it out to them that they could create however they wanted, right? Because we don't know the supplies they have. And I'll just show you a few more. So I had been using the iPads and doing Procreate with some of my classes. And so you can see a lot of that digital art show up because that's what they had most recently been doing. And I just loved these. And then some students that weren't even in art right now because they rotate through for me were hand drawing and they just wanted to participate. And I said on Instagram, if you're not in art and you want to participate, please share your work with me. Let's get it out, see each other's faces. So that's some of this work. And then I'll just show you this one is awesome digital art that she created. So
Yeah,
that's that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry,
And then am I okay to keep talking?
Yes, please. I was going to say, if you have any other things that you want to show us, we'd love to see.
Okay, so this class actually, an interesting thing that's happened for me is that I had one trimester of students of 100 kids, and I had them for the last 2 weeks were virtually, and I had to say goodbye, and then virtually welcome 100 more. So I haven't even had them in the class. So this was the final project with my last group of kids that I had in the classroom, and I had them create hearts that out of whatever material they had at home. And you can see this student created out of snow. He happened to be in a location that there was snow, and I thought that was awesome. And then I had them share a photo, but also a video. And I turned so the video was the students passing the heart in front of them. And you'll see this is on YouTube, and I have it linked on Instagram as well. And actually what happens in the video is that they're sharing that heart to each other across the screen. And I just loved that. I was really pleased with how that turned out. And I just wanted it to be a way to encourage each other. We're all in this together. So that was a great project in all kinds of different ways that they created. Let's see, even some, and I'll just pull this picture up, were digital collages, all kinds of different cookies. I had students that made heart cookies. So that was a fun one. I currently now have new students, and you had asked about the Shadowology project.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll pull that up, and maybe some of you, these are just some examples from students, but I figured that's hopefully easy enough because we just need a shadow and we need paper and a pen, right? And I followed an artist named Vincent Boel. He's a Belgian artist, and I've always loved his creativity and playfulness. And he's been fantastic to follow the kids' work. You can see that here in the comments. He said, keep it up. And he's been so great to just encouraged my students, and I've made sure to point that out to them. I love doing that with art and social media. Hey, this artist that inspired us, we're at home and he's at home in Belgium, but he's able to write in and see what you're creating, and he loves it. And he's been really great in that way. I've never met him, of course, it's just through social media. So here's a few other just examples. Yeah, they're just fun. And I'm hoping it's taking them away from their screens for a little bit to just create. So this is just a few examples of that project. I loved this one. Are my slides changing okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So just another example. So that's that. And then currently I am working on a food art project, and I haven't posted those. So we'll see how that goes, but I figure they all have food different, you know, whether it's the coffee beans or it's something more elaborate. So those are starting to come in, and I'll share those soon. I hope that helps.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely. So, hey, Libby, we had a couple questions come in from the audience. They're curious about the logistics of assigning things online. Like, how many assignments do you do per week? Is there a way for you to check on student progress? Can you talk just a little bit about, you know, how assignments go and how you track progress?
Yes, I can. Let me just, if I don't want to share anymore.
Yeah, I will
share.
I will stop that.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I did see that little. Okay, so turning in work, that was what you
Yeah,
had
just
asked, right?
how you assign it, how you track progress, how you have kids turn it in, just
Okay.
the whole process.
Yeah. So again, for me, I feel very fortunate that my students have access to technology. They all have their laptops with them. So that is a benefit for me for sure. I know that's not the case for everyone. And I have just maintained my communication through Google Classroom. So I try to give them more time than maybe I would in school to create projects. And they will turn that in Google Classroom, and I try to be very quick to respond during those work hours. Now, like has already been said, we have to put limits because we want to be, I found that I want to be so available to my students and let them know that I'm here. But I also have 3 children at home that are doing virtual learning, and I have, my own self-care that we've talked about that's so important. So keeping those hours the best we can. But so Google Classroom has worked fantastic as far as that goes. And then I'm doing Flipgrid this week for the first time, and then and I can give video responses for 100 students. That takes a lot of time. That's not doable maybe for everyone, but I've found it great to have that video back and forth between each other. Our school's using a lot of Zoom in live classes. I haven't done that yet, but I plan to do that after our spring break. So does that answer the questions a little bit?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's really helpful. And then I guess just to close it out, one last question, very general, but you know, what advice would you give to everybody who's kind of just starting this journey, just figuring out, you know, how we're gonna manage all this? Like, what advice do you have for people?
Yeah, good question. And so much great advice has been given. I've been listening the whole time on Facebook Live. So thank you for this. I wrote down a few things, but I would just say, if you're not on social media, Twitter and Instagram, I would say now is the time to do it. And I know it's intimidating for some people, for sure, but the amount of support and inspiration and help that is out there in those spaces is unbelievable right now across the world. So for art educators, I would just encourage you to get into those spaces and look up the hashtags virtual learning, remote learning, distant learning, and connect and start to follow people. That has been, that has saved me, honestly, because as art teachers, we're often the only person in our building. That's the case for me. I rarely see the high school art teacher, the elementary art teacher. We just don't have time like we would like to get together. But online, those communities are so strong right now, and the ideas being shared. So I would just encourage you to get in those spaces if you can. The other thing is, and this has been said as well, we're creative people, and this is a time to be extra creative and just to see it that way. We have this amazing opportunity we're challenged whether we ask for it or not, but how can we walk through this? And our students are watching us, of course, that we learn from each other every day, but they're going to watch how we handle this, and they're going to learn from that. So yes, we want them to learn art. Yes, we want them to be creative, but we also, there's a lot of life lessons here. how are we going to demonstrate how we handle this challenge? It is a season. It will pass. There are challenges that we're going to walk through, but I think it's a great opportunity for our kids to learn so much more than just even the art. What else? Don't be afraid, be flexible, be willing to try new things. You're going to mess up. We're going to mess up together, but we're going to learn through that. And I was just going to say too, don't be afraid to show yourself. I know we can create videos all different ways, but I do think there's something from them hearing us talk and that familiar voice. Our kids are all in such different situations, whether they're totally isolated. For us, we have kids that are in apartment buildings that can't really even get outside very easily. So just, of course, we're thinking about all those different situations, just letting them hear our voice and our face. If we're comfortable with that, I would just encourage, we're going to mess up. We're going to look silly. I've learned that through my TikToks, but I hope I make them smile at some point. But we're in it together, so we will get through it. And I just best of luck to everybody. Find those spaces online and get the support you need. And you guys are fantastic to do this. We just appreciate it so much. It's such a support for all of us. So.
Well, thank you for the kind words, and thank you for joining us. We appreciate your perspective and just kind of letting us know how we can find some success and maybe what may be coming in the next few weeks. So thank you, Libby.
Thanks for having me on. Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So, Amanda, it's been fun. So we probably need to say our goodbyes. So
We
I'll
sure
go
do.
first, and then I'll let you jump in.
Okay.
I guess to everybody who's watching, thank you all for joining us. It has been a crazy couple of weeks. You know, if you think about where we were a week ago and then think about where we were a week before that, just sea change, you know, and the world is moving quickly. And I think the best thing we can do is kind of continue to help each other, you know, continue to go through this together. And with that in mind, we do need to tell you, we're going to be back next Thursday with another webinar and another one the week after that, and probably the week after that. We'll see how long we need to go. Housekeeping, or you want to watch it again, or you want to share it with someone, it'll be on the Art of Education University Facebook page as well as the website. If you pre-registered for the conference, you should receive an email with a link to the recording once that is ready as well. And then just keep coming back to the AOEU site for lessons, resources, ideas, you know, whatever else you might need. You know, we'll continue to do our best to navigate this situation with you over the coming weeks. So, Amanda, we've asked a few different presenters for their words of advice. So do you have any final words of advice that you want to share with people?
Yeah, well, first of all, on the AOEU website, there's actually a dedicated coronavirus page now. So if you go to AOEU, theartofeducation.edu is what I mean to say. You can find that there. We're continually adding links and resources, both from our sites and other sites. So definitely check that out. But I would say more general life advice in this season would be to accept help and find a way to help others. So like in my house, accepting help looks like we are only eating off of paper plates, like for the foreseeable future. It's one thing I can do. It seems small, but it makes my life easier with young kiddos at home. And then find a way to help. I'm setting up a Zoom meeting for my son's classroom tomorrow, and I set up a group text chat for my younger kids' preschool class. And so find what are your skill sets. I know more about technology than some of the other parents in those classes. So what can you do? What's one small thing you can do to help somebody else? I found it's really helped my mental health to be a helper to others during this time.
Yeah, and if
what about you?
Yeah, if I can just piggyback on that, you know, the paper plate thing, like that hits home, because I think we need to, like Amber said at the beginning, give ourselves permission to not be perfect. Like, you know, I see all of these color-coded schedules and like wonderful parenting going on. And to be honest, like my parenting the past week has been like throwing chicken nuggets at my kids and handing the TV remote. And you know what, like, they're gonna be fine. They're gonna be all right. And I'll get better, you know, we will all get better, but right now, like, nothing has to be perfect. And I think, you know, like we've said, we need to give ourselves and each other grace and understanding as we navigate this. As you know, I've seen a couple places. I think a good idea to keep in mind is, you know, be really slow to judge other people, but be
Yeah.
really quick to be helpful. And, you know, I think keeping that idea in mind will really help us kind of get through that. So anyway, it is time for us to go. So a big thank you to all of our presenters. A huge thank you to everyone who has attended and given us some of your time tonight. And let's do it again next week.
Let's do it. Bye, everybody.